when it works. When it doesn't work, it's not so popular. But I'll just see if this is working. Hopefully you can all see that. So yes, as Lena said, my name's Sandra Matheson and I'm the assistive technology teacher covering the whole of Highland. Unfortunately, there is only one of me as well. So that does mean that I'm spread really thinly. So I really appreciate this tonight, actually getting a chance to speak to so many of you and share a wee bit about the technology that we've got available to our pupils in Highland. And this technology is also available to them at home as well. So quick overview, I thought I'd start with just saying a wee bit about what assistive technology actually is. And I found this definition, it's quite useful. It just explaining that assistive technology is used to describe basically anything that can support an individual to do something that they might have found really difficult beforehand. So we all use assistive technology every day. I've got mine on just now, and I made sure to put my varifocals on today so I actually see both what's on the screen and my notes I've got in front of me. But yes, assistive technology is a really, really broad umbrella term. Um, and we all use things in our daily lives that started off actually as assistive technology. Um, Text messaging started off as a way for deaf individuals to communicate with each other, and that has spread throughout the whole of basically the world, really. And it's used really, really frequently by everybody. Subtitles and captions, I think we've got subtitles on tonight as well for folks. A lot of us use them if we're trying to watch a video, a TikTok or a YouTube, if you're really up with your tech. Um, Audiobooks as well began as accessible to blind people. Electric toothbrushes even started as assistive tech, helping folks with physical difficulties to be independent. And then down to Alexa, Siri, all our voice activated assistants that are, hugely part of our everybody's day-to-day lives now. And this effect is known as the curb cut effect. It was named in America, and it started off by people realizing that having a dipped curb on a pavement was designed initially for folks who use wheelchairs, but it benefits so many other people as well. So this view of technology is something that is becoming more and more common. That something that benefits somebody with a disability actually benefits so many more people when we get into using the technology. And things that begin as being assistive technology actually are becoming more and more mainstream. And back when I first started teaching, sorry, I should have said a wee bit, my background's I'm a primary teacher by training, and I've worked in additional support needs for many, many years, both with complex needs pupils and in mainstream as a support for learning teacher for a while as well. So yeah, things that started off when I first started my teaching career, a voice to text program was hugely expensive, into the hundreds of pounds, and took hours and hours and hours for people to train it to recognise their voice. And these things are now as standard on all our Chromebooks that we're going to speak a wee bit about tonight. So, kind of covered a wee bit of this already. So, assistive technology, what benefits people who have an additional support need, actually often really benefit all of us. So, our way of thinking is we should hopefully be as inclusive as possible right from the beginning. It is very obvious and very clear that everybody's an individual and there's no one size fits all approach out there. People will have different preferences, have different ways of learning, have different bits that they struggle with. So, personalization is important as well, but hopefully that, the technology can be individualized, but can be available to everybody too. Technology isn't a magic wand, unfortunately. When we involve technology, we often do make things more complicated. It is a very it is a skill to learn to use the technology as well. It's not just automatic. We often think that we should just be able to pick up a piece of equipment, a computer, a tablet, whatever, and just be able to use it straight away. But there is actually a lot of learning involved in using some of these tools, because that is actually what they are. They're tools. You pick up a paintbrush, you can use it straight away, but to get really proficient and really talented and really good at using it requires practice, requires perseverance, and requires the opportunity to use it. So these things do need to be learned, they do need to be taught, and they do need practice. Universal design for learning is a bit of jargon that you might often hear around. But what it actually means is that pupils have loads and loads of different ways of learning. For as many pupils as there are, there's that many different ways of learning. We're all individuals, we all approach things differently. So it's based on a scientific understanding of how people learn, that people learn in different ways, and about giving pupils the opportunities to experience learning in a variety of different ways. All different ways are valid, and different ways that they can show that they've understood the learning. The days of a pen and a piece of paper, hopefully, are in the past. That one size fitted all, and everybody had to sit there in an exam hall for hours and write. Hopefully, those ways are on the way out, and that because the technology is more and more available, that we'll be more and more able to embrace that and to find ways and means of showing your learning that actually work for the individual, rather than making the individual fit the way that is being directed. So hopefully we'll learn more about UDL, Universal Design for Learning, and that'll become more and more part of Scottish education. It is kind of in the early stages, but more schools are taking things on board that we do need to give people the opportunities to learn in the ways that work for them. So in Highland is a Chromebook authority. We've gone down the route of when the Scottish Government decided that pupils will be getting more and more access to technology. Highland chose Chromebook as the way forward. So in Highland, Chromebooks are available to pupils as standard. In the lower primaries, so primary 1 to primary 5, there's shared devices available in the classrooms. And then primary 6 and up through into secondary, pupils have a one-to-one device. Chromebooks are Google-based as well, so we use Google Classroom, Google Slides, Google Docs, and all these things for the pupils to be able to access their learning. And it's, Chromebooks are great. They're really, they're quite robust. It's a good thing. They're really good for mainstream pupils to be using to access. And part of the Chromebook access, school staff have access to something called Read and Write. So this is a Google extension, and it provides lots of tools to help folks to access text in lots of different ways. It's available as standard to all pupils, so it's not just those that have a diagnosis of dyslexia. It's there for everybody to use, or for anybody to use. And that's seen as being quite important, because a lot of our pupils don't want to be seen as being different if they're using something different. There shouldn't be a stigma, but there is for some pupils at, having to do something in a different way. And that's where a universal design for learning comes in as well, in that everybody learns differently. It's not just somebody that has a diagnosis or a special label on them that's getting something different. Everybody can choose to work in the way that suits them, the way that suits their learning, the way that suits the way they absorb information. So this Read and Write extension, it's accessible to all pupils on their Highland Chromebooks that they're provided through by school, but they can access it at home on devices at home as well. There may pop up the first time you try to do it, there may pop up a bit that says, it has to be approved by admin. But our ICT department will be able to approve that for you if you've got a Highland Schools Google login, and all the pupils should have that. Just with the way technology works, the Read and Write extension only works on Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Chrome, which is the browser. It doesn't work for PDFs. It's the way that the formats are. The docs and things are more text-based, whereas PDFs are almost like a photograph. So it's a slightly different way that the program OrbitNote reads the text on a PDF. but that is another extension that's available for pupils as well. It's slightly different, but it's got a lot of the features of read and write. So I thought for tonight we would maybe focus on read and write, and then if finding out a bit more about PDFs is something that you'd be interested in, I've got a link at the end of the slideshow that'll show you a little bit more about where you can find out more information about OrbitNote and how that's used as well. So read and write. I've taken a screenshot here of my own computer. I've actually got a PC. I've not been given a Chromebook, so it might look slightly different on the Chromebook, but it basically works in the same way. So up in the top corner, if I go on to the next slide, it's a little bit small, but you might be able to see it. There's I've pinned it to my toolbar, so I've got a purple little extension there that is the read and write extension. It looks like that. And if you've not got it to your pinned to your toolbar, if you go into the little jigsaw puzzle piece, that leads you to where all the extensions are. And then what you'll get is a big toolbar with lots of different icons on it once read and write's opened. So I had hoped at this point that I could go into the Chrome browser and demonstrate how it can read text aloud for you, but we couldn't get that bit to work. I love technology when it works. When it doesn't, I am not actually the most technologically literate people, which is quite ironic really, but I love it when it works. When it doesn't, it is a bit frustrating. But on this toolbar here, there are lots and lots of different options, and what I thought we could do tonight is just have a quick overview of the main ones. I will try and share some of my my tabs that I've got open to show you it in action. It might not work sound-wise, but what Read and Write does is it gives you a huge variety of voices that you can choose. They do sound slightly computerized because they are computerized, so they're not as natural as somebody reading aloud, but they have improved hugely over recent years. And we do have Scottish voices as well. You get male and female voices. I do know one pupil of mine, he has virtually a different voice every day of the week because he thinks that is really entertaining, and he can choose whether he has an Australian accent, an American accent, an Irish accent, Scottish, English. You know, he loves choosing a different voice for each day of the week. But those options are there and it's all completely customizable. So, read and write. I said, excuse me, about a quick wipe of my nose. It works on Google Docs, Google Slides, and the Chrome browser. So that gives it a huge amount of flexibility for how information is presented to pupils in school. It has a voice to text option. So you can use your voice, dictate the text that you want to write. It will appear on the screen. People think this is a really easy thing to do. It's actually a real skill that needs to be learned, and it involves really conscious thought about what you're going to say. You have to speak in all your punctuation. So if you want it to add a full stop, a comma, a question mark, take a new line, a new paragraph, you have to tell the computer everything. You know, computers, they're not actually as clever as people think they are. They do need to be instructed to do everything. So learning to use voice to text, it is a real skill. It involves planning as you think about what you want to say. It also involves editing, so going back and reviewing what you've written, making sure that it's picked you up clearly, making sure that there's no mistakes. I don't know if any of you use subtitles on your TV at home, but sometimes if a program's live, it can be quite entertaining spotting all the errors that the subtitles make. Voice to text is the same in that way. It will make mistakes. So going back and learning to edit your work is a real skill as well that some of our pupils find quite challenging. And to do that, you can make use of text to speech on Read and Write. You can choose that it reads the whole page, or that you can choose that it just reads one word at a time. And a nice option that it's got sometimes is if you just want it to read a little bit of the page, you can take what it calls a screenshot of that page and it'll just read that little bit. But text to speech is a really, really useful function as well. One of the things that a lot of teachers have really loved when I've shown it to them is the simplifying web pages option. So I'm going to try and see if I can actually show you that in action just now. So I'm going to hop out of this slideshow presentation and try and open up another tab on my window. So I'm going to stop sharing just really briefly. And then I should have trialed this one before as well. But is it going to give me the option to start sharing again? Hang on, when I jump, I'm in the wrong, right. So so on the screen just now, on the screen just now, I've opened up a web page. So this is a web page from a Newsround article. And you can see the text is really small. There's quite a lot of things on the screen. There's links to other pages. There's photos down the side. And it can be a bit overwhelming to find the information you want on a busy page like this. One of the options that Read and Write has is something called Simplify Page. So if you click on that, it opens up a new tab, which I'm going to share this tab instead. It takes a little bit of time because it is doing this in real time. So you still have all your options in the tab bar, but what you also have here is you can change, well, it's simplified the page and it's taken out a lot of the links, but you can change the font. You can change the font size. You can change the font spacing. You can change the type of font. You can still use the voice to text, but you can also follow along on the page. If you prefer a different color, you can change that. You can also use what we call screen masking. So this is really nice. It's got a lot of flexibility in that you can use it so you just highlight certain parts of your text and takes away some of the visual clutter. But what it also will do is, if I go into the settings and change this down, take off the reading light bit, I can change the colour. So it mimics the effect of a coloured overlay. You can change it to be pink, to be blue, to be green, whatever colour you like. And a lot of our kids are finding this really a useful tool as well to help them read things on a screen. That screen masking can be used on any Google Doc. It doesn't have to be on a web page, but it's got a lot of flexibility in what it can do. So Simplify Web Pages are really a tool that a lot of our teachers are thinking that would be really useful for the children. What it will also do as well is it can change, there's a button called Rewordify. So if you click on that, it's not perfect because it doesn't always change the words that you think, but it does its best guess at words that are quite complicated. So it thinks that this word precious might be a difficult word for people to understand. If you click on that, it expands the definition and it can give you other options for the same word. Unfortunately, the text to speech isn't actually working for you to be able to hear it over Zoom tonight, but you can choose the text and it will read it out loud to you. I'm sorry, but you won't be able to hear it, unfortunately. But it's highlighting every word as it's read out as well, which pause it, which it highlights the words that are being read out loud as they're being read as well, which helps folks to understand and to link the text, the written text, to what they're hearing. You can change the speed that it's read out loud at as well, if you want something slowed down a wee bit to give you a bit more processing time. And for people, when they've got their headphones on, they're the only person that's hearing that being read out to them. So, they can read over the same thing several times to make sure that they can understand it, or they can read it once. It's very, very individualized. It's not like having to ask somebody to reread something over and over again. You've got that control and that independence while you're doing it. So read and write as a tool, it's really, really flexible. It has options here that you can highlight words. So, for example, if you're trying to get information, so I'm just going to take the screen mask off so you can see my colours. You can use the highlight tool if you're doing a bit of studying, gathering some information. If you highlight bits that you want, let's just do something at random, then you can transfer these highlights and collect them and then open them up in a separate Google Doc. So you can use that as headings for any information that you're trying to write about. You can just choose to transfer over certain colours that you've highlighted. So, if you're using it as a research for a piece of, using it for a piece of research and a piece of writing, you can use those highlights as prompts to remind you of what you want to write about. So it's got a lot of really, really useful tools. It also has a dictionary function. So if there's a word that you don't know the meaning of, you can click on the dictionary and it's there for you. It'll read it out loud. Again, sorry, but you won't be able to hear that tonight, but just clicking on the little triangle at the side, you can listen to the definitions to make sure that you've understood. If the written dictionary isn't doing it for you, then there is a picture dictionary option as well that can show you a little illustration of what those words are. Obviously, there's not going to be a picture for every single word that you choose. There will be more options in the written dictionary, but it's a really useful tool for folks who are more visual learners to help support their understanding as well. And these tools are available on a text document, or they're available in Google Slides as well. So I'm just going to pop back to the Google slide. Voice notes are one of the other options that it has on Google Docs that are really, really useful. And a lot of our primary teachers are finding this one really beneficial for their students. And it's almost like the precursor to voice to text. So you can leave a voice note, a recorded audio note on a Google Doc. The teacher can leave a voice note or the student can leave a voice note, and then that's saved as part of the document. So if voice to text isn't working for you, or if you're really struggling to go back and edit things, but your teacher can understand what you say really clearly, then you could answer questions on a Google document by leaving a voice note. It records up to 60 seconds of audio per note, which is actually quite a long time when you start speaking. And the voice notes feature, a lot of people are feeling, or from what I'm hearing from staff and from pupils as well, they've actually been quite excited about that one when that's been shown to them. So the voice notes option is a really useful one as well, or popular one as well. We demonstrated the screen masking really quickly there, the highlight, so collecting and organising your data onto a new document. So that is a really, really quick whiz through read and write. There are options, and the company have actually changed their name since I made up this slide. So they're no longer called Text Help. They're now called I'm just having a mind blank. Everway. But this link is still the one that gets you to their academy. But in their academy, there's lots and lots of information about all the different features of read and write. There are, actually, let's just open the link in a new tab and let you see it. So There's guides on how to get started, introduction to it. There's a tour of all the different features. There's lots of YouTube videos that'll explain and show the features and the functions to you, and you can dip in and out at your own pace. There's guides for students and for the teachers as well to use, and lots of information, webinars and resources on how to get the most out of the program, because it is actually quite a powerful piece of software there. But I know it can be really overwhelming if somebody shows you all these different tools on a one-hour and just throws it in and says, on you go, get on with it. But this way you can dip in and out, find out things that you like, find out, yeah, this is going to work for me. No, that feature's not going to be, no use to me, but it might suit somebody else, type thing. So it's, their training and things are really, really good. And what I like about it is, because I'm not using it all the time, I do forget things. I forget what's going to work, so I can dip back in and out of it, and look for specific things as how to help them. So that was a quick whiz through Read and Write. But a new tool that I've been exploring.
Alex, for your new rugby top, would you like to have?
Sorry. So yeah, the new tool that I've been exploring a little bit more recently is called Notebook LM. So this is also from Google. It's free to use. Anybody can use it. So it's not just for school pupils. It's Google's version of a research assistant. So it uses any of the sources that you upload into it. You can upload documents, you can upload PDFs, you can upload YouTube videos. It takes lots and lots of different sources, and it will use AI to organize and present that information in lots of different ways. And you can use, because it's based on Google Chrome, you can use Read and Write with it as well to access it. So I've been doing a bit of playing, and tonight's actually really given me a really good opportunity to try and find out a wee bit more about it. So I picked the story, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So this is a piece of text that is recommended for Nat 5 English and for Higher English as well. It's a bit of a crossover text. And what I've done is I've uploaded the source here. So that was just, it's a Word doc actually that I've uploaded into Notebook LM. And what you can do then is you can use your voice text on Read and Write. So this button here, and you can ask it a question. Sorry, I should have stopped that. And you can ask it a question because it's going to start typing in a minute. So I always get that bit wrong. So I'm going to ask it if it can answer, if it can tell me where the story is set. Where is the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde set? And it should, if it's going to work. It should. Didn't see that bit there. It's not working. It should be able to answer the question and give you an answer to it. I think I've got far too many things running on my computer at the moment. But one of the other things it can do is it can give you, take the information that you've given the source and lay it out as more of a mind map. And all I did was click on the button and it produced this all itself. So if you're more of a visual learner, you can get a mind map of all the things. It can, let's see if I can reduce this back down. it can do you an audio, what it calls an audio overview. So this probably won't work tonight because it's not sharing the sound from my computer, but it does almost a podcast style discussion of the source information that you've given it. It is a bit American. The voices are a wee bit AI, but it presents your information in a different way. And I know a colleague of mine took a policy document from Highland Council, uploaded it into this, and then was able to listen to that as a podcast as they were driving around Highland to different meetings. It can make things into a sort of flashcard style. So I'm going to see if I can try and get this one to open. Sorry, I've got a few pop-ups. There we go. So it can let you see things as flashcards. And this can work from voice to text if you use this tool here, which is the screenshot reader. So if you click on that, select the bit of text that's on the screen, and unfortunately this will not read out over your computers, but if I press play, it will read the question to you, and then if you click on it, it turns over and it shows you the answer. So you can use it to kind of almost test yourself on the source material. And then it will also, one of the other options is it produces like a deep dive kind of video almost on the text or on the information that you've given it. So it's a really quite an exciting tool. It is AI based, but it's using AI in a really, really positive way. It can also generate a quiz, an interactive quiz for you to make sure that you're reviewing, revising your information in that way. So I can see this being used by a lot of pupils in their own study sessions, and trying to help them just be able to understand, absorb, and review their information in a different way. And it does it all really, really quickly for you. It's actually really, really quite clever. And I'm quite enjoying exploring it and using it as well. So hopefully it's something that will kind of make revision and study a bit more interesting for folks. So that has been a really, really quick whiz through everything. So I think I was wondering if folks have got any information, any questions. Sorry, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer, but I will try my best. And if I can't answer, then I'll, if we can get some contact details, I'll try and get back to you on things. But my email is up on the screen there. Please get in touch if there's anything I can help out with. And yeah, I'm just really thank you for spending some time with us this evening. And I hope that there's been